All right, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's David, and welcome to our training webinar today on Nirvana. We started these training webinars back in the beginning of June when we first launched Nirvana, and so over the past 8 weeks now almost, we have been talking about how Nirvana is a mood enhancer, how it can improve the quality of the skin, anti-aging effects, even weight loss. And this week we are going to be talking about rather something obvious to wrap up this series on Nirvana training, and that is going to be pain relief. And originally this wasn't going to be something that I was going to do a training on. However, because we have so many people reporting very dramatic pain relief effects with Nirvana, I thought it would be time that we get into that in a little bit more detail. So for those of you that are interested in using Nirvana for pain relief, you can have a couple of ideas about where to go with this and why. So we're going to be talking about that. And then, of course, next week there will not be a training webinar, but we're going to start a whole new series the week after that. Also, of course, at the end of this brief presentation, you'll have an opportunity to ask any questions. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, now as a brief refresher, and for those of you that are new to lifeWave, welcome. Nirvana is a product that is designed to elevate endorphins. And endorphins are produced in the body in two different areas. The first one is in the pituitary gland, which is in the brain. And then the second is in the individual nerve cells. Now, I'm going to be disclosing something a little bit later about a belief that I have about the role of endorphins in the nerve cells that I think you might find of interest, and give you an opportunity to try Nirvana for a rather interesting application. But we'll get to that in a moment. But we're really going to be focusing in on today is how to use Nirvana for pain relief. So first, Nirvana elevates endorphins. They're released in the brain, and there's three regions of the brain, if you will, that are all connected to one another in a very interesting way when it comes to the production of neurohormones. And that would be the pineal gland, the hypothalamus, and the pituitary. So for example, you could have a signaling molecule or a neurohormone that's released by the pineal gland. This will trigger a reaction of other hormones in the hypothalamus, and then this will lead to production of a hormone in the pituitary. The reason why this is important is that when we elevate endorphins and release endorphins in the pituitary, this is going to have an effect on other hormones in the body. And we did discuss this in previous weeks, how, for example, people are seeing weight loss effects with Nirvana. And one of the possible mechanisms is that when you release endorphins, you put your body into a more relaxed state. This has a relaxation effect on the adrenal glands and the endocrine system, and you could conceivably reduce or balance out your cortisol levels, which of course is linked to belly fat, given that's a stress hormone. Now, all of us at one time or another have experienced what it feels like to have endorphins release in our body. And the most common one is after some intense exercise. So if you've done any weightlifting or calisthenics, or you went out for a long run, and afterwards you say, man, I feel really great. That is endorphins. So this is a biological mechanism, actually, one way to look at it, that makes us feel good about exercising, because our body needs exercise if we are going to have a very long, healthy life. So the body cleverly has a release of hormones so we can feel good about that exercise. And it also, it's first part in recovery. So this is what it feels like to elevate your endorphins, and this is one of the reasons why Nirvana is so powerful and people love it, is because wouldn't it be great to feel that way all the time? Now, on our subject tonight, we're talking about pain relief, and this is perhaps one of the most well-known characteristics of endorphins, is that they do reduce pain. Now, this is for times of emergency. It's like the body's first line of defense. Someone is injured, the body releases endorphins to get people to cope with this injury or with this trauma. And endorphins are unbelievably powerful, many more times powerful than morphine, 20 to 30 times more powerful. The disadvantage, of course, with endorphins is that they don't chemically last very long in the body. So this is why they're not administered in hospitals. Morphine, on the other hand, will stay in the body a lot longer, and thus it becomes addictive. Now, of course, Nirvana is divided into two components. The first one is the oral supplement. Now, from the point of view of pain relief, you could really take the Nirvana pills anytime during the day that you wish. I'd recommend one with breakfast, one with lunch. But if you want to take them both at the same time, you could. It really doesn't matter in the sense that the ingredients that are in Nirvana will build up in the body over time, and as they accumulate, you start to get stronger and stronger effects. So it's not like you would take an aspirin, you take it when you're in pain. Nirvana is really designed for use every day. And this is where it could really find a great advantage for people suffering with chronic pain, is that now you have a way to elevate endorphins and reduce pain naturally, and you get a 24-hour effect. The patch, on the other hand, is a different story. The patch, we spoke last week about some of the advantages of using the patch either during the day or in the evening, and what we're really going to be talking about now are different places you apply the patch for different types of pain and why it would go in one place versus another. So the patch, of course, complements the oral supplement, and this is a system, and for pain relief you should really be using both. Now, something else that we've talked about on one of the early webinars is how in addition to endorphins having you feel good and relieving pain, they also reduce inflammation. And of course, with endorphins being produced not only in the brain but in the nerves, this is exactly where we need the pain relief and the reduction in inflammation. So let's say you bang your elbow, right? It's at the elbow where you want the pain relief, and if you hit it hard enough and you get any swelling, that's where you want to reduce the inflammation. So it's great that this is what happens with the release of endorphins, that they're anti-inflammatory. This last one's also pretty interesting when we think about how many people in our company that we've helped that have neuropathy, they have fibromyalgia, Parkinson's disease, and we've helped relieve pain with Eon and lifeWave and glutathione. Nirvana now may be able to take this to another level. If we look at a disorder like neuropathy, diabetic neuropathy, we know that the nerves are damaged through very high levels of blood sugar. Well, endorphins have the potential to promote nerve connection. And so it has potential application now for people that are in pain from these disorders. So that'd be something that we haven't done a study on yet, but be worth looking at. Now, when it comes to applying the Nirvana patch, there's a couple of very interesting possibilities here that I want to go through. And then I'm going to get into another potential application of the Nirvana patch. I just want to mention it briefly based on some anecdotal information we're getting from people. So this first one is at the third eye, and this is not going to surprise any of you because this is one of the locations where we recommend its use. just last week, I had a woman in my office. Her name is Sandra. And Sandra was experiencing some very severe pain from behind her eye. This was actually in connection to a surgery that she had had. And normally I would be using Eon or lifeWave for pain relief, but I thought, well, this is something, it seems like it's something to do with some nerve pain behind the eye. What I'm going to do is apply a Nirvana patch to that third eye point and see how we do. Now, this woman had been using pharmaceutical drugs for pain relief, and she described her pain level as an 8, and no matter what drug she took, she was not able to get the pain below an 8. We applied the Nirvana patch to her third eye, and within minutes, her pain level dropped to a 3, and it made her feel very calm and very relaxed. And now she is a new lifeWave customer and a new lifeWave distributor, and she's very, very grateful for the pain relief that our products have provided. So the third eye point is actually a connection or a point to stimulate the pineal gland, and that indirectly affects the hypothalamus and the pituitary. So you're going to find that when you stimulate this point with the Nirvana patch, it tends to make people feel very calm and relaxed. So obviously that's going to be a powerful benefit no matter what you're dealing with any type of pain. Most people obviously are going to want to wear it at this point at night, and that's just fine because we have other locations that people can wear it during the day. Now, a number of years ago, we had the good fortune of meeting a medical doctor in France. His name is Dr. Pierre Volkmann. And as a matter of fact, Dr. Volkmann did a clinical study for us on lifeWave, and you can read about that on the science section of our website. You'll see a clinical study there at the top of the page from Dr. Pierre Volkmann. And Dr. Volkmann was actually knighted by the French government, by the French president, for his contributions to the field of pain management. And so we're very fortunate to make his association and to have him do a study on lifeWave that finished just so great for us. It was about 94% success rate. And when we were talking about places to apply the patches, we had talked about the C7 vertebrae point here on the back of the neck. And I happened to mention to him that, you know, when we stimulate this point, we were even seeing people get pain relief in the knees. And the way he would explain it is that there are nerve clusters or nerves that go through this point and they stretch throughout the body. And in fact, there are nerve clusters that go right to the knee. So it didn't surprise him at all that we could see that effect. Now, there's another potential benefit here that I want to bring up. But I want to put this in the right context, that this is a personal belief that I have, and it's not based on any scientific evidence, but it's an area that I'm interested in investigating. And this is the potential antiviral effects of endorphins. So let's think about this just for a moment. When you have a virus in the body, and a virus that would hide in the nerves would be a herpes virus. So this could be something like oral herpes or shingles. And once you get it, it's in your body for the rest of your life, and it's estimated even that every single person has some kind of virus in their body. But now, what could we do about this? Well, what's interesting is that these viruses, they hide in the nerves, and the immune system can't find them. So they're able to hide there and evade detection, and so they just stay dormant in your system until your immune system becomes weak, and then they come out and they cause all kinds of damage. Well, what if there was a way that you could elevate the production of an antiviral compound right inside the nerve where the virus lives? So I'm interested in doing research to find out what are the potential antiviral effects of endorphins, since there's never been a product before available to keep endorphin levels elevated over such a long period of time where they could show antiviral activity. So for example, let's say that you're someone that suffers from cold sores, or you know somebody that suffers from cold sores. Well, that virus happens to hide right back there at the base of the neck at that C7 vertebrae point. So I'm going to recommend that you give that a try. Try placing the Nirvana patch on that point along with taking the oral supplement, and see if this reduces your frequency of cold sores. Now, of course, we started talking about Nirvana and pain relief, and obviously because this point is such a point where people carry their stress and the nerves reach throughout the body, this is going to be an obvious choice for people that have whole body pain. Now, of course, another point where viruses can tend to hide out is at the base of the spine, right at the tailbone there. So again, if you were interested in experimenting with this, you could apply the patch right to where it says GV2, so right at the base of the tailbone. Another place that you could try would be at where it says GV1, but I recommend that you put the patch in your underwear. You tape it to the underwear and not to the skin, because that's obviously going to be a tricky proposition to apply it to the right point. So just put it in your underwear, and then that'll be okay. But in any case, a lot of people, they can have lower back pain. They can have pain in the joints around the hips. And so this potentially is a great place to apply Nirvana for pain relief there. Now, a protocol that I enjoy using that I would recommend, it's tied to what's called auricular therapy. And this was actually something you would think would be from China or Korea or Japan, but it's actually originated in France. And idea that all of the different points that you have on the ears can actually translate into different points on the body. So a very, very simple way, you don't have to memorize this chart at all, a very, very simple way of using this information is to take your thumb and index finger and simply pinch different points around the ear. And when you reach a point that is rather sensitive to the touch or even painful, that's where you would apply the patch. Now, we can also apply the same methodology to reflexology. So in other words, there's points on the hands and on the feet that correspond to all different regions of the body. So again, you don't really have to know these charts so much, as you could just simply take your index finger, apply some deep pressure to different points around the bottom of your foot, and when you reach a point that it's rather sensitive or painful, that's where you could apply the patch. So, what we have been talking about now is the use of Nirvana in pain relief. And you would be using the Nirvana pills each day, so those ingredients build up in the body and can help to stimulate the release of endorphins. And then you apply the Nirvana patch as needed to some of the different locations. And in addition, of course, to the pain relief, endorphins are going to provide some other nice anti-aging, anti-inflammatory benefits. So with that, let's go ahead and take some questions. Now, you can use the webinar system to raise your hand, and I'll unmute your microphone. Or if you prefer, just write in a question. And I want to thank, we got a lot of people that are here this evening, so thank you so much. And I know that many of you are on vacation. We certainly have a lot of tourists that are here now in San Diego. So I hope that if you are on vacation, you're certainly having a well-deserved rest and a great time. Okay, here's a question. Do you have any suggestions for allergic reactions to mosquito bites, huge blisters? Well, yes, as a matter of fact, there's a number of definite possibilities here if it's truly an allergic reaction. The classic points in acupuncture are on the back, and they're called bladder 23. And you can simply find those on an acupuncture chart. They're a little bit difficult for some people to apply themselves, but those points stimulate or help to balance out the function of the adrenal glands, and they're good for allergies. Now, on the other hand, points that I've used with people for allergies that work very, very well are a combination of two different points on the large intestine meridian. So one would be our classic large intestine 4 point. So let's say that you could apply an Eon patch on the large intestine 4 point on the right hand, and then down over here at the right at the elbow, if you press on that point, you're going to find that's very, very sensitive. So you've got one patch up over here, and then you've got one patch that is down over at the elbow. Okay, so right up over there. And you'll find that that does a wonderful job. Now, you could apply energy patches, white on right, tan on left, so you have two sets of energy patches applied at those points. That's another potential strategy. Also, if this is an ongoing concern for allergies, I would be using vitamin C and vitamin B5, which is pantothenic acid, daily. I would be taking as much as 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C daily. So let's say 1,000 milligrams with breakfast, 1,000 milligrams with lunch, and then the same amount of vitamin B5, 2,000 milligrams a day of vitamin B5 divided over 2 or 3 meals during the day. There are also some wonderful anti-inflammatory, anti-allergy nutrients. One of my favorites is jewelweed, J-E-W-E-L, weed. And there is a company called Hawaii Farm or Hawaiian Farm that carries jewelweed. Jewelweed's a very, very powerful anti-inflammatory. So for things like mosquito bites, you can rub a little jewelweed right on it, and it will reduce the inflammation right away. But you can also take it as a liquid and get that inside your body. Okay, what would you suggest for patching for liver function, high elevated enzymes? So, of course, we do not make any medical claims about our products in the treatment or cure of any type of disease. If we look at this from the point of view of Chinese medicine, points that can help balance out the liver would be liver 3, which would be on the top of the feet, or you could apply a white patch on the right foot on gallbladder 41, and then a tan patch on the left foot on liver 3. Of course, you'd also want to be looking at diet, whether or not you have any food allergies. There's a company called Alltess, A-L-L-E-T-E-S-S, that does food allergy testing. That's quite good. I've used that company in the past. So it's important to know, what's the cause of these elevated enzymes. Is it from a food that you're eating? Some other problem with the liver? Another product, of course, I'm going to recommend, the primary detoxification antioxidant in the liver is glutathione. So I would recommend using our glutathione patch in the physical proximity of the liver, or below the belly button is okay. And I'd also might want to recommend vitamin C, because that is going to help support the activity of glutathione. It'll help recycle or keep glutathione levels elevated. There's also a detox that's available. You can look at, if you had elevated liver enzymes, you'd want to work with a naturopath or natural healthcare practitioner with this. But Dr. Hulda Clark, along with others, and this is a very old naturopathic remedy for liver function, and it's a liver detox. And so if you Google Dr. Hulda Clark liver detox, you can find this. But basically, it's a combination of using magnesium salts and grapefruit juice and olive oil. And there's a very, very specific sequence that you have to follow. But basically what this is doing, the magnesium salts, the Epsom salts, are going to help relax the bile ducts, open them up, and then the olive oil and grapefruit juice help to push out deposits that have accumulated in the liver. So that's something that would be an option at looking at. About 1 in every 1,000 people have an adverse reaction to this type of detox. One thing that's very nice about it is that it only takes 2 days to do the detox. So it's a very, very good flush. And then there's some other products on the market that support liver function. So for example, Silymarin is a extract of milk thistle, and this will help elevate glutathione and support liver function. Asparagus is, of course, very well known to clean out the liver. Artichokes, very well known to clean out the liver. So you could have some artichokes or asparagus tonight for dinner, and that's going to help with your liver function. So anyway, those are some recommendations. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, here's a question. Is there anything that you can do to remove plaque from the arteries? Yes, and this person is asking about pomegranate juice, and there's actually a few things here. So first thing is, when we talk about arterial health, there's absolutely going to be a number of things that people can do. The obvious ones are exercise, of course, is a big one. And having a low-fat diet, in my opinion, is not a good idea. When we look at what is potentially causing restrictions in blood flow, it's really bacteria that are creating plaque. And the bacteria are going to be there for a number of reasons, but they definitely feed off of sugar. So you want to go have a diet that's low in carbs and rich in monounsaturated fats. So avocados or avocado oil is a great choice. Macadamia oil, perfect choice. Olive oil, those are just a few options. But another thing is the omega-3s, so especially DHA. But omega-3s, so fish oils are powerful because it makes it more difficult for the bacteria to cling to the arterial walls, and this makes it more difficult for the plaque to form. So fish oils, maybe about 2 or 3 grams per day, or a diet that has fish in it every day, is definitely going to help support the function of the arteries. Also vitamin D, very powerful anti-inflammatory for the arteries. But what do you do if you already have a problem there? I'll mention one other thing, niacin. And depending on what form of niacin you use, there's some time-release niacins that are pretty good. But if you take a high dose of niacin, let's say 50 to 100 milligrams and more, you can get a niacin flush. For most people, it's harmless, but it's still very, very itchy. So speak with your nutritionist about that, or your healthcare practitioner. But niacin is a great way to strengthen up the arteries. Well, the combination that has been used in studies for cleaning out the arteries is a combination of SOD, and of course the Eon patch elevates SOD, or you could get an oral supplement called Glissadin. That's a bioavailable active form of SOD, and pomegranate juice extract. And see, the company Life Extension has a pomegranate juice extract called Endothelial Defense, and that's a good one. Or you can simply take 4 ounces or so of pomegranate juice every day. And the studies had shown that over a period of about 9 months, this will completely remove the plaque from the arteries. Now, there is an ultrasound test that you can get. They put the ultrasound head up against the carotid artery, and they measure the thickness of the arterial walls. I definitely recommend you have that done, so that way you get to know about your progress. Okay. Now, I got this question once before about CBD oil. I haven't tried it, and if there's any way to activate those receptors. Well, my understanding actually is with CBD oil, they activate the same receptors for stimulating endorphins. So in theory, that's what we're going to see the same type of effects as we would with Nirvana. Now, there may be other receptors that CBD oil is triggering, though. I'm not really sure about that. What vitamin B5 do you recommend? Well, on vitamin B5, just any generic brand is going to be okay. That's something where the pantothenic acid or calcium pantothenate, it's the same molecule. So regardless of what brand you buy, it's going to be the same chemically. So there's not one brand I would recommend more than another. I do tend to like Jarrow. I think they're a good brand. But again, any generic brand, like a Vitamin Shop brand, and I think you're going to be okay. All right. Well, we are at the bottom of the hour. I want to thank you all for being here. Once again, we are not having training next week, but we will have it the week after that. I hope that you all are enjoying your summer and look forward to seeing you soon. I am off to exercise, as I usually do on my Tuesday nights. So thank you, everyone, and see you soon.